Cosby Show 1984 cast reveals what most fans never figured out. For nearly a decade, they were the greatest family on American television. Every Thursday night, millions gathered to watch the Huxtables laugh, argue, and love. It felt perfect. It felt safe. But behind every warm hug and colorful sweater, something else was unfolding. Secrets quietly buried, careers quietly unmade, a beloved son lost far too soon, and one young woman who turned the role down entirely and walked straight into music history. 9 lives, shaped by the same 8 seasons. By the end of this video, you may never see The Cosby Show the same way again. Stay with us to the very end, and subscribe to Secret Celebrity Stories, because these are the stories the cameras never caught. Bill Cosby. There was a time when this man walked into your living room every week and felt almost like family. The funny, wise father figure a whole nation seemed to trust. Bill Cosby was born on July 12, 1937, in Philadelphia, and by the time he pulled on those famous colorful sweaters as Dr. Cliff Huxtable, he had already spent decades as a groundbreaking stand-up comedian, a best-selling author, and a producer. When The Cosby Show premiered on NBC on September 20, 1984, it did far more than entertain. It sat at number 1 in the Nielsen ratings for 5 consecutive seasons, a height reached before it only by All in the Family, and at its peak, it earned more than $2.5 billion, including $1.5 billion from syndication alone. It also reshaped how America pictured a black family, and studies later credited it with helping inspire a rise in black college enrollment. What few realized was how completely Cosby steered its vision. He personally threw out the original premise, which would have cast Cliff as a limousine driver and Claire as a plumber, after his wife Camille urged him to portray their own upper-middle-class world instead. And so a doctor and a lawyer, raising 5 children, entered living rooms nationwide. But the man beneath that beloved image carried a history that would, in the end, dismantle it. Starting in 2014, dozens of women came forward with allegations reaching back decades. In 2018, Cosby was convicted of aggravated sexual assault against Andrea Constand and sentenced to 3 to 10 years. In June of 2021, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned that conviction on procedural grounds, tied to an earlier non-prosecution agreement, and he was freed, a legal reversal, it should be stated plainly, rather than a verdict of innocence. Networks erased the reruns, and universities withdrew his honorary degrees. At 88 now, Bill Cosby stands among the most complicated and painful reckonings in American cultural memory. Whitney Houston. Picture the single decision that split 2 entire futures apart. Because before the world ever knew her voice, Whitney Houston came within a hair of becoming a Huxtable. She was born on August 9, 1963, in Newark, New Jersey. And in 1984, at just 21 and virtually unknown, she sat before the producers of The Cosby Show and read for Sandra, the family's eldest daughter. Every account agrees she was radiant, and the producers weighed her seriously. But a different door was already open. Clive Davis, the storied executive who had signed her to Arista Records a year earlier, after catching her sing in a Manhattan club, imagined a future no sitcom could contain. A multi-year television commitment would have made recording and touring impossible, so she turned it down and gave herself fully to music. 11 months later, her self-titled debut appeared and became the first album by a woman ever to send 3 straight singles: Saving All My Love for You, How Will I Know, and Greatest Love of All, to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. She would go on to sell over 200 million records and win 6 Grammy Awards. And in a twist of fate, she eventually became a film star anyway, headlining The Bodyguard, whose soundtrack remains one of the best-selling of all time. Yet the story carries a shadow. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston was found unresponsive at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, only hours before Clive Davis's annual pre-Grammy gala. She was 48. The Los Angeles County coroner ruled her death an accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors. And in 2020, she was inducted, posthumously, into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The role she declined would have made one fine actress. The path she chose instead, gave the world one of the greatest voices ever recorded, a legend whose songs still move rooms to silence. Phylicia Rashad. She came from a family where excellence was simply expected. Her younger sister is the acclaimed dancer and director Debbie Allen, and she carried that standard into a role that redrew what black womanhood could look like on American television. Phylicia Ayers Allen was born on June 19, 1948, in Houston, Texas, and earned her Bachelor of Fine Arts, magna cum laude, from Howard University in 1970. Before Cliff Huxtable ever met his match, she had already appeared on Broadway in Dreamgirls and The Wiz, and even on the soap opera One Life to Live. When Bill Cosby handpicked her to play Claire, drawn to her ability to hold a scene with nothing but stillness and a look, the television landscape shifted for good. Claire Huxtable was a practicing attorney and a mother of 5 who could disarm her husband with a single arched eyebrow, and the portrayal earned Rashad consecutive Emmy nominations in 1985 and 1986. What no viewer ever saw was the strain of one particular year. Pregnant with her daughter Condola during the 3rd season, she was shot from concealing angles and positioned behind furniture, and one uncomfortable setup left her with a genuinely painful pinched nerve. Yet she kept working, never letting it show. Her later achievements only widened her legacy. In 2004, she made history as the first black actress to win the Tony Award for Best Actress in a Play for A Raisin in the Sun, and she claimed a second Tony in 2022 for Skeleton Crew. She joined the Creed franchise, appeared in The Beekeeper in 2024, lent her voice to the Pixar film Soul, and led Howard's Chadwick A. Bozeman College of Fine Arts as its dean from 2021 to 2024. But one decision complicated all of it. When Cosby's conviction was overturned in 2021, she posted words of support, drew swift and severe backlash, and apologized fully within hours. At 77, her legacy stands as extraordinary and undeniably humanly complex. Lisa Bonet. Some performers fit neatly inside the worlds they are hired to inhabit, and some quietly refuse. And no one refused more gracefully than the young woman cast as Denise. Born Lisa Michelle Bonet on November 16, 1967, in San Francisco, she was still a teenager when she stepped into the role of the dreamy, boundary-pushing second Huxtable daughter, and from her very first scenes, she carried an energy that never quite belonged to the show's polished picture of order. Neither, it soon became clear, did she. Friction with Bill Cosby surfaced early and grew more visible by 1987, amid reports of lateness and absences. To manage it, Cosby constructed an entire spin-off, A Different World, set at the fictional Hillman College, offered publicly as a step forward, though in practice, it lifted her off the main stage. Then arrived the 1987 psychological horror film Angel Heart, opposite Mickey Rourke, whose explicit content Cosby later confessed had unsettled him. In early 1988, Bonet became pregnant with her daughter Zoe, today an internationally recognized actress in her own right, born to Bonet and her then husband, the rock musician Lenny Kravitz. A pregnant college freshman could not be written into the spin-off, and she was released, briefly rejoining the flagship series in its 5th season, with the pregnancy tucked beneath loose jackets, before leaving for good in 1991. In a rare and pointed 2018 statement, Bonet said she had long felt what she called a sinister shadow energy around Cosby, years before any allegation reached the public. She has steadily declined every reunion, married first to Lenny Kravitz and later to the actor Jason Momoa, from whom she divorced in 2024. She went on to memorable work in films and series like High Fidelity and Enlightened, always choosing the unexpected over the obvious. At 58, Lisa Bonet endures as one of the most quietly magnetic and independent figures the show ever gave us. A woman who lived by her own compass long before the world caught up to what she had sensed. Malcolm Jamal Warner. He arrived at just 14, and within a single season, he became the son every household seemed to recognize. Theo, warm and flawed and endlessly human, across 8 seasons and 197 episodes. Malcolm Jamal Warner was born on August 18, 1970, in Jersey City, and his parents named him for the activist Malcolm X and the jazz pianist Ahmad Jamal, a pairing that seemed to foretell a life balanced between conscience and craft. His 1986 Emmy nomination astonished no one paying attention, for he possessed something rare: the ability to make you laugh and ache within the very same moment. What audiences never realized was the tender source of Theo's classroom struggles. The storyline was lifted straight from real life, inspired by the dyslexia of Cosby's son Ennis, and handled so thoughtfully that Warner has said, strangers still tell him Theo's journey was how they first recognized their own. Behind the scenes, he weathered an early rivalry with Carl Anthony Payne II, who played his friend Cockroach and had auditioned for Theo himself before the two made peace. Far from a one-note child star, Warner built a genuinely artful life afterward, starring for 4 seasons opposite Eddie Griffin in Malcolm and Eddie, appearing in The Resident and Sons of Anarchy, playing bass in his own band, directing, and writing spoken-word poetry. He even won a Grammy in 2015 for a collaboration with the Robert Glasper Experiment, and earned another nomination for his 2022 album Hiding in Plain View. And then came the loss that stunned so many. On July 20th, 2025, while vacationing with his family in Costa Rica, Malcolm Jamal Warner was pulled under by a strong current and drowned at Playa Cocles, in the province of Limon. He was 54 years old. The tributes that followed, from Beyoncé to the castmates who had grown up beside him, spoke not of manufactured celebrity, but of a man who had earned, over a lifetime, something far rarer: real and lasting love. Keshia Knight Pulliam. Her career began before she could even walk. 9 months old in her first commercial, on Sesame Street by 3, and by the age of 4, Rudy Huxtable, the smallest and most disarming member of the family, the child an entire country watched grow up in real time. Keshia Knight Pulliam was born on April 9, 1979, in Newark, New Jersey, and she holds a distinction still remembered decades later. At just 6 years old, she became one of the youngest performers ever nominated for a Primetime Emmy Award, honored for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. That recognition was never about a little girl being sweet on camera. It was earned for real emotional work that reached grown adults week after week. What most people never grasped was the peculiar burden of maturing inside a role a nation adored. By 10, she could already sense the distance widening between the young woman she was becoming and the child viewers wished her to stay frozen as. "I have to let audiences know that now I'm a woman," she once said, a single line that laid bare the invisible cage of early fame. Her response was both surprising and wise. When the series ended in 1992, she resisted chasing the next part and instead enrolled at Spelman College in Atlanta, one of the nation's most esteemed historically black universities, graduating with a degree in sociology. She returned to acting entirely on her own terms, joining Tyler Perry's House of Pain as Miranda, a role she still plays in the show's revival, and collecting back-to-back NASIP Image Awards in 2009 and 2010. When she chose to attend Cosby's 2017 trial in personal support, she spoke with great care, addressing only her own experience, and pledging to respect whatever the jury decided. Now 47 and a mother of 2, she has spoken candidly about finding contentment in farming, wellness, and a deliberately simpler, more grounded way of living. Sabrina LaBeouf. It is strange to think how close she came to losing the part entirely, and stranger still that the woman who nearly claimed it became one of the best-selling artists in the history of recorded music. Sabrina LaBeouf was born on March 21, 1958, in New Orleans, Louisiana, and raised in Los Angeles, and she was 26 when she auditioned for Sandra, the eldest Huxtable daughter. The producers wavered, confessing she seemed almost too old for the role, a mere 10 years younger than Felicia Rashad, who would portray her mother. The rival finalist was an unknown 21-year-old named Whitney Houston, who chose a record deal over a television contract, and, in walking away, gifted LaBeouf one of the era's most sought-after roles. Yet here lies the parallel so few ever knew. LaBeouf herself declined to sign a contract that would have barred her from a singing career of her own. the very reason Houston had departed. Two women, standing at the identical fork, each unwilling to surrender her artistic freedom. LaBeouf lent a serene intelligence to Sandra, the Princeton-educated overachiever who seldom needed volume to be heard, and she appeared in 176 of the show's 201 episodes, across 8 seasons, a calm and steadying thread throughout. When filming ended in 1992, she made a turn that startled Hollywood. She stepped away from fame almost entirely, entering UCLA's professional interior design program and building a practice serving high-budget clients. Walking into a bare home and bringing it to life, she once reflected, felt exactly like building a character from a blank page. She never fully abandoned performance, appearing as a leading lady with the Shakespeare Theater Company in Washington, including the role of Catherine in The Taming of the Shrew, and lending her voice to the animated series based on Cosby's book Fatherhood. At 68, Sabrina LaBeouf remains among the most gracefully guarded and self-possessed figures of her entire generation, a woman who proved that stepping out of the spotlight can be its own quiet act of confidence. Tempest Bledsoe. She was the middle child, and as often happens with middle children, her greatest gift was so consistent that it slipped past unnoticed, a warmth and a plain-spoken honesty that kept the Huxtable household feeling true across all 8 seasons. Tempest Bledsoe was born on August 1, 1973, and stepped into the role of Vanessa, the daughter with a taste for drama, the teenager who once slipped off to Baltimore for a concert and returned to face the slow, surgical precision of Claire Huxtable's disappointment, in a scene fans still recite word for word. But there was a dimension to Bledsoe that almost no viewer ever linked to the girl on the screen. When the show ended in 1992, she refused to drift into obscurity. Instead, she enrolled at New York University's prestigious Stern School of Business and earned a bachelor's degree in finance, a choice made with clear eyes, because she had watched enough of the industry to understand that talent without financial sense is a fragile thing. That knowledge would matter enormously at a deeply personal crossroads. Her longtime partner, the actor Darrell M. Bell, familiar from a different world, had lost his family's fortune at the age of 24, and Bledsoe drew on her financial training to help him rebuild it, patiently and from nothing. The two have remained together since 1993, choosing a long, committed partnership over a legal marriage, a decision they have upheld for more than 3 decades, grounded, as she once described it, in compatibility and shared laughter. Her career, too, revealed genuine range. She hosted her own daytime talk show in the mid-1990s, appeared in the sitcom Guys with Kids, and later fronted the home makeover series Clean House. At 52, Tempest Bledsoe stands as one of the steadiest and most quietly accomplished stories to emerge from the whole ensemble, living proof that reliability can be a form of greatness all its own. Jeffrey Owens. His life reads like 2 separate stories, and the second one began with a photograph he had no idea was being taken. Jeffrey Owens was born on March 18, 1961, the son of Major Owens, a longtime United States congressman from Brooklyn, a lineage of public service he carried into a quieter, steadier craft. A Yale graduate and a devoted acting teacher, he joined The Cosby Show in its 2nd season as Elvin Thibodeau, the initially old-fashioned young husband of Sandra Huxtable, who, over 128 episodes and 7 seasons, matured into one of the series' most rewarding character arcs, a man truly reshaped by the women in his life. Owens carried that transformation with quiet nuance, more than holding his own in a cast overflowing with talent. In the years that followed, he sustained the unglamorous, disciplined life of a working actor, and part of what kept him financially steady were the residual checks from the show's syndication, arriving faithfully, year after year. Then, in 2018, the series was pulled from syndication across every platform, and those payments ceased almost overnight. A source of income he had long relied upon simply evaporated. So he took a job at a Trader Joe's in Clifton, New Jersey. He needed the money, and its flexible hours let him keep auditioning. He worked there for roughly 15 months, until, in September 2018, a fellow shopper photographed him stocking shelves without his knowledge, and sold the image to a tabloid, which presented it in a manner many condemned as job-shaming. The reaction fractured at first, then swelled into an overwhelming wave of support, with figures like Tyler Perry publicly offering him work, and the incident opened a real national conversation about the dignity of honest labor and the financial precariousness even respected actors so often endure. He has since appeared in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Nancis, New Orleans, among others. At 65, Jeffrey Owens speaks of it all without a shred of shame, and with the hard-won clarity that only adversity can grant. 9 lives, shaped by the same 8 seasons of television. One man who built an empire and watched it collapse. One woman who turned down the role and walked into immortality. One young star lost far too soon, and another undone by a stranger's photograph. The Cosby Show gave America something rare, and then took something back that can never quite be restored. So here's the question worth debating. Should the show be preserved as a cultural landmark, or set aside entirely because of the man at its center? There's no easy answer, and that's exactly why it matters. Drop your honest take in the comments below, and subscribe to Secret Celebrity Stories, where the truth always lives behind the smile.